in terms of printing material or readable material, but they were there, and we put them up in broad daylight. It was a defiance, it was a rebellion against this kind of absolute power control freakery, the oligarchy.
Parliament was sitting, and things had intensified. And Jim Pierman, who was also a member, well, the 40 Thieves were everywhere, and they owned everything. So he was a member of Parliament. And when the black members called for some action, he said, "I will not be coerced by a bunch of hoodlums into doing something that I intend to do anyhow." He said he intended to open up a new theater which would be totally desegregated, but nobody believed him. So that was more fodder for Kingsley Tweed. Kingsley said, "Oh, you call us a hoodlum, huh? Well, I'll let you know that it takes one to know one."
We knew that if we burned Front Street down tonight, you know, then we would have lost our cause. It would have been detrimental to our cause. We were sensitive, we weren't stupid, you know. And so all that crap there about hooligans and jailbirds and hoodlums and people trying to force us to relinquish control, that didn't matter to us, because we knew that he had to relinquish control. And we knew that ultimately, ultimately, that he would have to concede, not because we had nothing to concede.
Kenny Eben and those boys were able to kind of control the crowd, get the crowd, getting the crowd, because you didn't want people to start misbehaving, and those boys were able to do that.
The whole 3 nights were very civil in the sense they had no type of events that was disruptive, right? Was nothing like that. Was very orderly. And as a matter of fact, Kingsley was prone to emphasize, right, that this is a peaceful demonstration, right? The people just come out to show support, right, for the idea of desegregating all of the segregated places that was in Bermuda.
There was also an interesting thing happening. Somebody had organized a group of young men who didn't have a reputation for the most gentlemanly or gentle manners, and they were proudly walking up and down with the placards saying, "No violence, please," which was quite something to laugh about.
I knew that there was this core of black men, this solid mass of black strength and sweat and stink, this almost emasculated eunuch who had no political power or influence. I knew that he was there, but I know that he had big muscles, and John Beaver and Sonny Boy Paul and all those guys, Whoopi Nisbet and Piggy Dale and Barley Bop and Ponce Goda, Ponce Manchester. They were all there, and you know, and somebody eventually said, "Here comes Marsh." And somebody said, "Marsh, if you touch Tootie Tweed tonight, you know, they kick your black son of a bitch in the mango box straight back to Bridgetown, Barbados." You know what I mean? And Marsh disappeared with the white guys, English policemen, and they all disappeared into this, and they started on the periphery and became peripheral people on another orbit because we were in our element.
The people did show their solidarity, and they came out in force to see what was happening. Then finally, after about 3 or 4 days, they had to close down the cinemas. Oh, we were most jubilant at that time, along with the people of Bermuda, because we had at least achieved one goal.
The recorder in my office there was a nest for all comers, including some of the theater for the theater establishment people, one of whom came to me and tried to strike a deal. We want to set up a committee, or we have a committee set up. We want some dialogue. You know who these people are. Let's see if we could get somebody to come over to the home of the Attorney General in Fairylands and see if we could work something out.
They didn't have anything to negotiate. Our objective was clear: desegregate the cinemas.
And so when he came out and told me we want to negotiate, we said, go to hell. Negotiate? You didn't negotiate with us when you wanted to segregate the theaters and the churches. Why the hell do you want to negotiate now? You know, make the concession. And we just said that publicly.
There was always somebody in the background giving directions, you know? Somebody saying, look, why don't you do this? Look, we're gonna do this here. But those people in the background, their advice was good, and we just followed their advice.
We sat down and drew up all the plans for this, for these motorcades, and made the information public. Now, we didn't go to the press on that occasion. We just had our drop man, who was Gerald Harvey.
I left Roslyn's and with a bundle of posters, and they were having a meeting up at the City Hall parking lot. And there were so many people, it was hundreds of people, and the only way I could get rid of those posters was to get in the center and just quietly drop them to my feet and then walk off. And I heard someone say, "What is this? What is this?" And everyone went in that direction, and they picked them up, and before I knew it, they were just passing all these posters out. And that worked.
I sat in the car for about 15 minutes speaking through this microphone. And I had papers in my hand, and I got out of the car. And then I became more open and more robust, more rigorous, you know, more to the point. And reminded the people of St. George's and St. David's that this boycott and the protests were here to liberate them from the political indiscretions of the rulers of Bermuda. That's how that went. It was a rather successful meeting.
Big motorcade set out as directed by the street corner crowd, went to Somerset. It was held at the Royal Naval Cricket Field.
We eventually got to Somerset. We emerged in front of the street where there was a Portuguese gentleman having kind of a supermarket thing. And they were all there, these Portuguese with the shop windows barred, because the word got there before that it was going to be coming to break up Somerset, you know? No, we were simply inviting the people of Somerset to come and join part of this progressive movement, you know, of protests and demand, you know, to come and share in our aims and objectives.
Then they went back to Hamilton and they said, we are going to St. George's the next time. 5,000 people we want to get to St. George's. That was what they had asked for, but they certainly would have got twice as many. They knew that they had no alternative to desegregating. So rather than make it appear as if they had yielded to the protesters by opening the theaters desegregated from a given date, they decided they were going to have a circuitous route towards the same objective. They decided that they were going to open up the hotels. Preemptive move, which worked. So it came out, news came out, we had a stop press item in our paper, a stop press. Castle Harbor Hotel management have instructed their people not to turn away anybody and so on, etc. So the word went out that the hotels had desegregated, restaurants had desegregated, and that all public places in Bermuda would open up, desegregated.
I think it's important to add also that the whites did not realize just how much the blacks in this island hated the segregated system, and how much they were just looking for someone to take the lead, such as was done by the theater boycott.
We certainly proved that we were able to influence the public. And it also started the domino effect.
It advanced the cause of the working class movement into a solid mass organization. Came out of the boycott. People would deny that, you know, but it came out of Mazambo. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't want to deny anybody their huge contributions. It came out of Ira Phillips's pen of protest at the Bermuda Recorder. It came out of Hilton Hill, you know, speaking with a sense of purpose and decency about the possibilities where Bermuda could or could not go.
You see, there's one thing that Kingsley said that was very significant. He said, the people who draw the plan, the architects of the building, aren't necessarily the ones who build the building. So he was projecting himself and prayers and among Jungle Bunny, the Doc Lynches, and everybody who had the courage of their convictions to speak up as the builders of the building.
As much as we were publicly a lot of other things, and privately the progressive group, at least it felt to me that this was our organization. And I felt that we could preserve it better if we remained secret.
The people who got up and spoke also did a sterling job because they produced a spontaneity that we had not anticipated, a level that we had not anticipated. And they could take the heat off of us because we felt at one point, we felt that we might have been exposed. They might have caught on to us, and so we sort of think they were looking in the wrong direction. Okay? And the other thing is that all of those persons who spoke publicly, you know, suffered.